Warning, the following video is rated M for if you're young, you shouldn't watch this, so viewer discretion is advised. But hey, I won't tell if you won't.
It was a night like any other night. A half-finished bottle of sake, smoke lightly hanging in the air, and a mind filled with endless questions. Is humanity incapable of learning from its mistakes? Is gaming the perfect distraction for a society in gradual decline? If it's not butter, then what is it? But with this never-ending pondering, something shifted, and finally it dawned on me. I've been sitting here for over 3 years, I smell like and my tab payment is definitely due. Oh god, okay. I gotta yell about some video games! Did y'all really think I wouldn't follow up on my Games of 2019 video? You know, the thing on everybody's mind? Well, we're doing it, y'all. 2022 style, baby. Because time stopped being real a long time ago. But instead of one massive video talking about several games, I've decided to do individual ones so folks can pick and choose what games you want to hear me yell about, and also more content, and also me talking. And no, I haven't given up on making for beginners, y'all. They are coming, I promise. Please stop asking. Check my About section, it's always been there! But let's get back to a simpler time, a more oblivious time, a sexier time, with Catherine Full Body. A remastered, enhanced edition of Catherine from 2011, which is an experimental puzzle game that I've talked about more than once. You know.
Did you know?
One. Big fan, as you can tell. It's a comfort game. The developers Atlas have a thing for enhanced remaster ports where they go back and add new features and characters, which in turn expand the plot and the experience as a whole. These tend to act as definitive editions and are so far more critically well received than their original versions, although some of us still have some preferences. But pickle me surprise when Catherine ended up getting this treatment as well nearly 8 years later, cause I thought Atlas had moved on from this series, similar to their other long-forgotten IP babies. Hope y'all are getting some food down there. Always gotta give them credit for the subnames to keep the confusion in check, along with just better branding. Full Body, a wine reference, which is fitting for the setting, but it's also sensual, but also implies that this game is the full package. But is it though? So we're gonna discuss that now and just whatever else I want to talk about. So sit back and relax while I sound off on the Full Body experience. Let's go! I always like starting with the big, fat, juicy, voluptuous, swagalicious. Okay, you know, forget it. Okay, is Catherine Full Body good?
Sure.
Yeah, take that as you will. Since Full Body is the original Catherine with just more stuff, I'm comfortable recommending it to anyone who is intrigued by the premise. While some of the story additions are a little questionable and borderline tasteless, other aspects add a lot more depth and dynamic to the characters' relationships with a fun twist. Match this with the general quality of life improvements in the gameplay and buffed up graphics, and you got yourself a fine dandy Catherine XXX experience.
Gosh.
The thing about these Enhanced Edition Atlas games, for me at least, is that no matter how good some of the extra content is on its own, it often, if not always, feels a little crowbarred in, radiating that afterthought smell. Although this probably just stems from me knowing what was a part of the original and what's new. Fresh players to the Full Body buffet may not be able to tell where the lines are drawn at all, but that's the addition conundrum. Are they elevating the original experience or souring it because the extra elements change the whole flow and now it just tastes funky? Hard to tell sometimes because extra video game in your video game can be fun, so it's only awful if you really have a problem with these people. However, despite me really enjoying a lot of Full Body's additions and changes, some of them just feel a little off and ham-fisted. The original Catherine was lean and digestible, a small but perfectly satisfying bizarre experience with cool flirty vibes, jazz bar aesthetics, and satanic goat imagery while in your underwear. The Catherine or Catherine dilemma of this sad sack of a man is displayed through a cursed midlife crisis nightmare featuring Qbert, eventually ending in these outlandish leaps of hetero reality, and it ended up being a nice little cut and dry TV soap opera package, wrapped in a cozy pink puzzle bow. So trying to throw some extra dessert on that looks a little obvious. and sticky. So, what is the difference between Catherine Classic and Catherine Full Body? Well, the first one is kind of staring at you in the face with the addition of Rin as the third possible love interest. This is easily considered the most controversial add-on, because what was once a love triangle is now a square, which is not an ideal shape for accurate directions, but I'll elaborate on that later. Some more differences are the additions of several new cutscenes and endings for Rin and the other Catherines. Love that for them. The graphics got a touch-up across the board with what seems to be bleach. In the gameplay department, they added a safety mode with autoplay, aka I want to watch a TV show right now button. It's pretty convenient. Full Body also includes options to play the classic or remix versions of the puzzle levels, on top of having double the amount of stages across the whole game. And Full Body has a bunch of quality of life changes, such as Rin helping slow down the puzzle floor from collapsing. Some items have been modified to be a bit more balanced, like the double climb energy drink has limited moves instead of being time-based now. Full Body also features a blue outline when hanging on the block edges, showing where you can move, and it's literally the best thing ever. And the undo system has been reworked a bit, along with the silly limited lives counter being thrown off a cliff because it was pointless in the original. So based on all of the evidence, let's answer the real question. Catherine Classic or Full Body? Who cares? Pick one. They're both fun. Full Body obviously just has more content and features, so select a combo meal, y'all. You're gonna get food either way. Also, one's cheaper normally. So, those are the differences between the two versions, but let's start exclusively breaking down what Full Body's story is all about. Spoilers ahead, y'all. We are going to be spilling all of the wine out here, by the way. So immediately out the gate, the game establishes itself as a TV show tale from the Golden Playhouse special feature, hosted by the mysterious, suave, and stunning-looking Trisha, who keeps all of her secrets in those buns. She acknowledges that this is the second time around for this story, but with a
fuller body.
You know, it's because it's the name of the game. So she sets the stage for what you're about to experience, mentioning rumors of a curse that kills you in your dreams if you fall before you wake up, followed by introducing Vincent Brooks and his 32-year-old major midlife crisis, stating that
his outcome depends on you, viewers.
So what do you have in mind? A life of comfort or a life of excitement? Or take the road less traveled? From this point on, the plot unveils itself through Vincent's perspective, and things instantly get weird with Rin's immediate introduction. Wowzers alert! And cue the opening credits. Honestly, underrated in my opinion. The imagery really slaps you upside the head, and I like that the credit names are for the featured characters to reinforce we're watching a TV show right now. Cool stuff. Love the song too. It bops. But past all of that, Vincent enters the foreboding nightmare world, where he must
overcome the massive blocks in his life.
Literally! Eventually, he conquers the puzzle tutorial with a big old hallelujah, as he awakens to find that he did indeed piss himself in his sleep from fear. Thinking nothing more of the nightmare, cause introspection is for wimps and he can't really remember much, a normal day in the life of Vincent Brooks, mediocre male extraordinaire, begins. Kicking off the morning with an uneventful coffee date with his longtime girlfriend, Catherine, with a K, a very girl-gas, gate-light, boss-keep-working lady, with a sigh that could kill. But they acknowledge that they've basically lost track of how long they've been together, and rather not committing to marriage is even convenient right now. You know, just passionate relationship things. And then, jump scare! A guy in town dies in a mysterious beef jerky way, but who cares about that when there's the Stray Sheep Bar, where you chill with your bros, buds, the best character in the game, and extremely overpriced pizza. You got Too Cool for School Johnny, Baby McWines-a-Lot Toby, hi Erica, and fedora-tipping divorcee Orlando. Turns out Rin got hired as the bar's pianist as a community way of helping the local amnesia victims, thanks to Vincent's help, so Rin is like super grateful for him. The gang then starts discussing the death of Beef Jerky Paul, a guy they actually knew in real life.
That Paul? He's dead?
Setting the eerie tone that something ain't quite right in the air lately. Possibly cooties, who knows? But a chill night with the bros quickly dissolves into Vincent drinking alone until he is approached by Catherine, with a C for cup.
I'm skinny. I'm rich, and I'm a little bit of a bitch.
The evening quickly turns into a haze as Vincent once again enters the nightmare world, having an eye-opening, traumatic time trying not to fall to his death while fending off a frenzied, feminist, forked-up demon. And in between these trials and tribulations, he discovers that he is not the only man, or rather, lamb, who is suffering from these nightmares.
You're the sheep. Everybody here's a sheep but me.
So yeah, they all see each other as sheep, but these floors are filled with every flavor of dirtbag. You got cheating dude bros, crybabies, crypto enthusiasts, greedy McGoldjacket here, a cop, obviously, Orlando, Johnny for some reason, I don't know, he kind of seems like a good boy, Fluffy Chunks, corn fans, a few others, and then Steve. Oh, that poor man Steve. Honestly, his demise is kind of f***ed up. Like, mama, you ate him! Also, Rin is here because plot reveal later. But what's even worse than being tortured by the deadly block puzzles is forcing men to dwell on their level of infidelity in a confessional booth where they are asked the big questions. Oh, that's a toughie. Eventually, after surviving the first night, the snarky powers that be give Vincent a flashback of his early passionate days with K. Catherine, right before he abruptly wakes up to reveal C. Catherine sleeping right next to him, which instantly shocks him into a sweaty gamer moment. Remembering that they hooked up in drunk bar fashion, I guess, C. Catherine proves to be a next-level seductress, making Vincent babble like a moron, incapable of saying he is already in a relationship before she leaves. And damn, bitch, you live like this? What do you see in this dude? So the crux of Vincent's dilemma really begins here, as he tries to juggle an affair with C. Catherine without K. Catherine knowing, and if or how he's gonna resolve this mess, all while Rin learns to play piano and what taxes are. The game has a very rinse and repeat structure, with each day of the plot starting off with Vincent sweating and mumbling his way through his mornings with C. Catherine, followed by afternoons with K. Catherine, Rin, or a friend, and then spending the evenings at the Stray Sheep drinking and talking to his pals about what to do with his life. Is love even worth it? And if he's really that bad of a dude for cheating.
You're just a selfish pig.
Thank you, Erica. Snatched. As the days progress, Vincent deals with a pregnancy scare from K. Catherine and threatening phone calls from a stranger who claims to also be dating C. Catherine.
What? Yeah, so that Catherine coochie was not what it was cracked up to be. So I don't think I'm actually straight. By the way, are you doing anything later?
All while the nightmare levels get more intense and horrific, like, oh my god, baby with a chainsaw, be afraid, fatherhood. Also ants. An abundance of ants, both real and imaginary. I don't know, symbolism or whatever. Don't keep sweets near the windows, fellas. It's like a magnet to these guys. But in the process of the most stressful week of his life, Vincent tries to piece together who cursed him to be there in the first place, and if there's a way to escape and gain his freedom. Eventually, all of the demonic hullabaloo leads Vincent to make hard decisions about his future, which are explored with a multitude of endings based on how you answered the confessionals, the daily life questions, and if you converse with the right people. It's all determined by this little cryptic couple here on the slider bar of fate. Now, a lot of the questions and conversations don't make it entirely clear what kind of life path you're setting Vincent on. Some just seem a little too broad to pick an accurate alignment. Like what kind of mental probing is this, Atlas? Who are you selling this data to? But seeing the online question results from other players is always an interesting treat. It's like people watching by proxy. I normally like answering to my heart's content in my first playthrough just to see what life will throw at me, but a guide will most likely be needed if you want to see all of the endings, and I'll go into the ending deets in a bit. But back to the plot. All of Vincent's mental spiraling eventually causes him to break up with C. Catherine, which later turns into a super tsundere moment when she pulls a knife on K. Catherine.
Don't you run away from me!
Only to then fall on her own knife. Suddenly, K. Catherine and Vincent need to couple climb for their lives, but all of that was just a part of the nightmare. Turns out, in real life, K. Catherine just correctly guesses Vincent's infidelity and breaks up with him as a consequence.
I came here to break up with you.
Tragic. Vincent, being in the absolute dumps, takes a moment to realize that no one besides him has actually ever seen Sea Catherine before.
All traces of her are gone. Nobody's seen her.
Except for the boss at the Stray Sheep at the beginning of the game, and aha!
Ace Detective!
Vincent ends up confronting the boss, and he reveals himself to be Dumazid, an actual god of shepherds and fertility in mythology, who's clearly got a thing for sheep in this game. It's very fitting, don't you think? It's soon explained that Sea Catherine is basically a shape-shifting succubus who aids him in his game to kill men who aren't committing to their relationships or marriage.
She appears at will and seduces men under the curse by appearing as their ideal woman. If you're going to sever ties with a longtime partner, what better way than with a messy affair, right?
So, it's a pretty straightforward explanation of things. It's just petty god stuff.
And that's the way it is.
Vincent ends up challenging Dumazid to one last climb in the nightmare to fight for his and all of the other dudes' freedoms from the curse, and he ends up succeeding, despite the guy having a gun and the world's coolest lazy boy chair. But this final showdown opens the floodgates for the possible endings. Now, the story starts off weird and concludes even weirder depending on your choices. Like,
We've been guiding the development of mankind with our advanced civilization!
I'm not really sure what to make of this one, Atlas. Hi there. Although compared to the original, I wish Full Body was a little more reserved before it flashed me. Like, yeah, the suspension of disbelief is thrown out the window immediately once you know if you die in the dream, you die in real life, and we're watching all of this unfold on a hot goddess's TV. But having the slower descent into supernatural elements in the real world felt more organic and suspenseful, versus Full Body just throwing weird stuff at you right away, with Rin being chased by a f***ing giant in the beginning. Like, my interest is not piqued. I'm more confused, if anything. Are we just gonna, glaze over that? Okay, yeah, we are. All right. Weird. However, Full Body does a better job giving each Catherine an even amount of screen time, which adds a little more conflict between your choices. Of course, we are all gonna have our favorites based on our own preferences, you freaks, but believe it or not, I used to be a Sea Catherine stan, cause, ruin my life, you crazy bitch, blow up my back and keep my car, please.
I die, or I kill you.
Hot! But with the addition of the flashbacks showing the budding romantic stages of Vincent's relationship with K. Catherine, it actually made me switch teams. I know, I was surprised too. Might be because I'm a committed bred myself now, but the extra insight on K. Catherine's character and development just made her the more appealing option. Since she's giving off responsible, sexy mommy vibes now instead of stuck-up naggy girlfriend energy. We stan.
I got that MILF money!
There's just more characterization across the board, and since the game is more focused on the characters' interactions rather than the story holding the scenario together, I found Full Body to be incredibly entertaining, if not a little more grating. So Rin, aka Catherine, or Catherine with a Q.
Catherine?
I'm not sure about the spelling, but, that's the name I remember.
It's so hokey, I almost respect the consistency. Acts as the third possible love interest, but their relationship stays pretty platonic unless you actively go out of your way to initiate it. And by out of the way, I mean a few feet, because they're just shredding it on the piano every night. But Rin's innocent demeanor and personality really softens Vincent's character, and their whole dynamic is rather, well, best way I've been able to describe it is very, twee, which teeters on annoying and weird sometimes.
Oh, good morning. Ow!
You okay? Be careful down there.
Vincent acts like a wise, confident mentor while also gushing about how Rin encourages him to be a better person and vice versa, and it's so mushy, gushy, and sweet it makes my teeth hurt. I'm guessing their dynamic is like this to showcase Vincent's authentic self, which has more caring and protective qualities, and for Rin's naive innocence to contrast the romantic rigidness of the other Catherines, cause Vincent do be struggling to be himself around those two, but I can't say I'm totally sold on their chemistry. And I guess while we're talking about this, let's get into everyone's favorite topic, the LGBT and Catherine Plus representation. About halfway through the game, it's revealed in a rather obnoxious cliche way that Rin is actually a guy.
Rin, are you, okay?
I think I am.
But are you a guy?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Vincent, being the incredibly mature adult man that he is, freaks the f*** out and even dramatically slaps Rin's hand away in shock.
Are you alright?
Don't touch me!
Definitely a bad look and reaction. High-key embarrassing. L plus ratio plus delete this. But quickly, through an intense scolding and swallowing his straight pride,
Come on, this isn't some horrible... Don't tell me you lashed out over this. Seriously? Call and apologize right now!
Yeah, okay.
Vincent apologizes for his behavior and comes to accept his attraction and love for Rin. Yay for the happy couple, I guess. So now that we're in the problematic stage of the video, Full Body is yet another example of Atlas dabbling in queer issues and characters while not fully realizing how tasteless and insensitive these moments can appear. Rather, the characters are queer-coded or their identity is stated outright, a good portion of the community has not been impressed with how Atlas has handled things. And while some of these characters are absolutely beloved for their personalities and have relatable struggles, most of the time they are being used as the butt of a joke, a very unfunny joke. And I would know, I do those all the time. The treatment of these characters comes off as careless at best and offensive at worst, with Erica, a trans woman, definitely getting the short end of the deal in the original Catherine, where it pokes fun at Toby losing his virginity to her and getting dead named in the credits, along with an even more sinister notion implying that Erica, not transitioning, is a part of a good ending somehow. Although, to be fair, that one is up for interpretation depending on how you see the timeline of events. Regardless, they did you dirty, Queen. I am so sorry. You do not deserve this. Now, Atlas USA reworked some stuff in the localization of Full Body to remedy those mistakes, like fixing the credits, but the Japanese version still has it. I can't pretend to know the heart and intent of the developers, and I've said this before, I truly do not believe that Atlas hates queer people. In fact, the keyword Atlas focused on when developing Full Body was diversity, with the goal of updating the experience to be more mature and relevant with the times. But the flimsy outcome is not a case of, oh, Japan is just wacky and homophobia and transphobia doesn't really exist for them, they just don't know any better cause culture and la da 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 da, but it does exist. And they do know better. In general, Japan just has a more dismissive and passive form of bigotry that manifests into joke-like jabs, along with rarely acknowledging the legitimacy of these groups' identities and struggles, and in turn, are treated as lesser than, which is upheld by the it is what it is mentality, otherwise known as shogunai. There are folks within Japan fighting for equality and trying to change these cruel misconceptions and forms of discrimination within their own culture and policies, but you just hear more outcry from Western audiences about proper representation because 1, most of us are in a Western news bubble out here, and 2, media portrayals are such a massive part on how our society perceives these groups, and we're dealing with a lot more violence and active political persecution because of religious history reasons. So good PR is more important than ever now. Perception is powerful, and it influences how we interact with the people around us, so it should be handled with care. Now, I am not the final authority on what is and isn't good representation. That really boils down to individual experience, and I can really only comment on what I've witnessed from the community. I am but a single voice in mind, trapped in this dope prison after all. And I will break out eventually. But in the case of Rin, femboys actually exist in real life, so this is somebody's idea of representation, but it's also a trope in Japanese media. So at the bare minimum, Atlas gets poo-poo points for originality.
They're showing a lot of florals right now, so I was thinking I could
Florals? For spring. Groundbreaking.
Although I do like Rin's design and personality when he's not with Vincent, it doesn't help that he's revealed to be an extraterrestrial alien at the end.
Brother, you'll accept our decision now, right?
At face value, this can be interpreted as a form of dehumanization at worst, or at least a very bizarre way of explaining their ambiguity. However, this is a dramatic horror-like soap opera story trying to display the many woes and flavors of love in the most hyperbolic ways possible, and these characters open the door for these moments, aliens and demons included. I'm personally fine with these reveals, since it could easily explain how Rin is in the nightmare because alien powers, and how Catherine is, you know...
Yay! Alright!
just herself. These things aren't supposed to be truly realistic. The only realistic thing about this game is how glamorized alcohol is. So consequently, sometimes the characters feel rather reductive. They are more of an archetype than a person that aren't exactly the most likable bunch, but still entertaining, gosh darn it.
Shut up, asshole! And just give me some toilet paper, please.
Well, quit mumbling. I can't concentrate in here.
They have distinct personalities with chemistry and charming dialogue.
They have really bad diarrhea.
Sometimes, I will never look at Atlas as the apex of queer representation by any means, and I'm definitely not expecting them to end homo and transphobia worldwide. But currently, they are one of the few game companies to even attempt to tell these kinds of stories without being coy about it, even if they are a little shallow when you boil it down. The bar is low. Extremely low, but at least they have a bar. Although a handful of games have been a lot more successful with these kinds of characters, so start taking notes, bucko! So despite all of my criticisms and me banging outside of Atlas HQ to do better, I do have to give Full Body some credit in trying to convey positive messages regarding these issues. Baby victories, y'all. One step at a time, fellas. We're only sliding into the hell pit gradually, but as a fellow homosexual, hi, how you doing? The moment I found low-key hilarious for its lack of subtlety is the scene where the cast basically looks into the camera and says, "We love gay people."
What do you think about same-sex couples?
As long as you love each other, that's all that matters, isn't it?
This is rather direct, and there's a few moments like this, so it shows that Atlas is listening to people's criticisms to an extent. They have achieved the "yay, gay rights, have a pride sticker" level, but I can only hope that they improve and break some tropes moving forward if they are going to dabble with these types of characters. So don't let me down, Persona 6. It's all you, baby. You've done this well before, Atlas. Don't f it up! The reveal to Rin being a man, though, could have definitely been written differently, but sadly, the reaction was in character for Vincent. Yes, he instantly felt regret for his response, but he is a poopy guy who does poopy things, with his most notable feature being his cowardice, indecisiveness, and people-pleasing, which is how he gets himself into this whole mess to begin with. By no means should you be looking up to this clown on how to treat anybody. Honestly, Vincent rides this very thin line of having just enough charisma to be a protagonist you don't totally despise, while being pathetic enough to want to see him not be this anymore, especially with all the nervous babbling.
Huh? Oh, wow,
Like, oh my god, I'm so tired. At the start, he's not supposed to be an aspirational guy in any way. He's intentionally a mediocre man-baby, so he has massive room for growth. And gradually, through your choices, he morphs into the next stage of his life. Rather be a loyal partner, a forever alone alcoholic, or a sex god maniac.
I can't believe a human man could be this incredible.
Honey, what was that?
And I guess to expand on the endings, there are 13 in total, which land in the good, bad, true, or freedom category. There are ones where Vincent gets married to live happily ever after with the lover of your choice, and they even throw in some time travel and a few babies in there for C. Catherine. Aw, look at the little babies. Although, both Catherine's weddings are held at the Stray Sheep for some reason, which is, very dull as venues go. Like, this is an insanely stinky choice compared to, I don't know, anywhere else. Like, what happened here, gals? Also, you don't deserve her, okay? Yeah, no, get out of here, Toby. Shoo, scat! Hate you. However, Rin's fanfare celebration is held in a glamorous spaceship with finger foods galore. So this party is an absolute W for the G's. Sorry, ladies. Now, other endings are where Vincent prolongs the dating phase of each relationship. In the case of C. Catherine, Vincent turns into a demon to get hot and heavy in hell for all eternity, as demons do. And Rin's ending is a little sappy while telling the bad dude that love is love, and then going long distance after. While Vincent learns learns to play Wonderwall in the meantime. There's also another set of endings where Vincent gets dumped by everyone and he just suffers in regret and depression, with just a little glimmer of optimism in there. The game definitely doesn't have a favorable view of cheating, so any ending where Vincent gets owned is low-key a good one still. There's also a few where Vincent goes all in and gambles on wrestling, only to become totally maidenless afterwards, which again is kind of a good one if you think about it. Now personally, my favorite ending is where Kate Catherine dumps Vincent for good and becomes a famous fashion designer, just like she's always wanted, and she girl bosses into the sunset on her helicopter, telling Vincent to go find himself.
You know, I always felt tied down, constrained by expectations of who I should be, but now I've realized something. People can be free, and I have you to thank for that. Vincent! You take that freedom and go live your life.
Actually love that for her. Go get that bag, bestie. But why should Vincent get all the attention when you did all the work? And luckily, there is a secret ending for that if you complete the extra content. Trisha ends up taking a sledgehammer to the fourth wall and reveals herself to be Ishtar.
I am the goddess of fertility governing the world's love.
See, get it? Because, like, all the letters are... Yeah, it's cute. She's just so turned on with your block climbing skills that she puts on her Sunday best to canoodle her way into your apartment to become a deity in love with you. It's a great ending, if you ask me. So, despite the game concluding in crazy ways, there is a lot of variety, payoff, and the morals of the story still shine through in the happier endings. Live your best life and follow your dreams. Have no fear in being your authentic self. Get a job. Take a shower. And healthy love requires strong commitment and trust. These are things I can get behind, and this is really the saving grace for the story. It's mixed with energy, humor, romance, a little satanic horror from the gods for flavor.
You shut up!
And you got yourself a solid tale for the times that will probably age like warm wine in a thong, but you know what? I'm here for a good time, not a long time, fellas. It's fun, and it's weird, and I can't help but love it, and I hope others do as well. And scene.
Okay, that was good, but could you make it a little less preachy on the next run? Okay, people, back to one.
So Catherine is a story-heavy experience with cutscenes around every corner, but the gameplay is deeply woven throughout the Stray Sheep and the Nightmare. So let's move on to that. From the folks who brought you Take Your Emotionally Damaged Cousin to Work Day and Demon Speed Dating in the Metaverse, Catherine goes for its own type of duality, with sad drunk by day and scared sheep by night. The game takes place over the course of like a week, and every evening at the bar, you can chill with Vincent's friends, along with walking around to chat with the locals to better understand why all the men around town are getting their comeuppance, why does Rin's piano playing cure depression, and if this couple can afford a ticket to the Elon Musk Space Bus Express. These social moments extend to Vincent's text messages as well, having a few opportunities to send replies and even receive pictures from other characters. But you gotta be discreet with the good stuff and open those in the bathroom, if you know what I mean. And yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about!
Won't be nothing left of you when I'm through!
But being social enough unlocks some mini-story events with unique dialogue, so it's worth poking around even if you're not aiming for a particular ending. This is also the time where Vincent can order drinks and ponder his thoughts while being enlightened with alcohol facts, narrated by Sojiro from Persona 5.
I know this is sudden, but here is some trivia about sake for you, as you seem to have finished your cup.
I don't know, inflation is rough right now and everyone needs a side hustle, I guess.
It's a cocktail that combines rum with hot water, sugar, and butter. I know what you're thinking. Rum and butter?
Yeah, tell me all about it, baby. Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover. Anyway, having a few drinks actually speeds up your movement in the Nightmare, so on top of getting educated on the sauce's secrets, you get a gameplay benefit too. Outside of that, you're just free to waltz around, get spooked in the bathroom, stare at peanut bowls, and change the bar music to show off the Vincent Brooks Shuffle. But before you succumb to puzzle hell and torture in your dreams, you can practice your techniques by playing the arcade game SuperRapunzel. These are short levels meant to test your strategies above all else, but they can be good head scratchers, and it's really satisfying to see the knight throw himself at the gal when you win. True love does exist. On top of just being an absolute vibe to look at with interesting dialogue to explore, I feel the bar segments really help pace out the game because it's a nice break from the nightmare stress, and it's a chill way to get more exposition exposition in a game that doesn't have a lot of exploration. Like, this place is a little narrow, fellas, let's be real. It's feeling a bit tight, if anything, and is it hot in here? Is it just me? And oh god, the aesthetics are closing in! But being able to pick a drink and learn new facts between sips is an extra detail that makes the bar feel really unique. It just adds such a specific charm and class to a pretty underwhelming action. It's iconic, really. But the best part about the bar sections is that it is all optional. You can either take your sweet bippy time to drown your liver, chat up old ladies, and oogle over piano, or you can instantly leave your seat, head home, drink yourself silly in a cutscene, and start doing puzzles again. I appreciate games with flexibility and trusting players with direct control over the pacing, not forcing you to engage with the environment and story at slow walking gunpoint. Like, even if I end up missing stuff in a first playthrough from passing by too fast, at least I won't be dreading my second one due to forced repetition. It can really kill the mood, you know? The roses smell sweeter when I choose to shove my face in the roses, not when they are suddenly thrust upon me and spiky! But this space is used in a very effective way, because even on a story level, having Vincent spend time with the stray sheep every night instead of having the option to explore around the town you see in the cutscenes just shows the dull repetition in his life, even if you instantly head home. This is his daily ritual, having the same drinks and food with the same people, dwelling in your head about what could be, incapable of making a decision for years, because things now are just easy and comfortable. And despite being in a dramatic situation, ultimately, your life won't change. You'll only decay until you break out of this passive cycle of mediocrity. As a wise man once said, the happiness of most people is not ruined by great catastrophes or fatal errors, but by the repetition of slowly destructive little things. You like that? Did you like the deep read on the game? Does it feel like art now? Remember, folks, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But on the flip side of this sexy coin is the puzzled, layered nightmare world. This is where the real meat of the game is. For reals, they serve it fresh here. You like mutton? Anyway, every evening, Vincent climbs new sections of the midlife crisis torture tower, and it's in his best interest to do it fast, because the bottom is gradually falling out where gravity does its thing, and goodbye, silly man!
Ah, it seems we have a guest with an intriguing destiny.
What, y'all didn't know about the secret Persona 4 level? Just me? Okay. Anyway, so the objective is always to move the blocks to make a path to the top without getting glocked. Unless you use a specific item, Vincent can only climb one block at a time, but the climbing strategies can become elaborate quickly since the blocks can be pushed together in a conga line and they connect at the edges. So, you know, play the sound, guys! Edge, 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 You'll know when you're on the edges. Vincent is also blessed with an insane gorilla grip, so you can maneuver around by hanging on the block edges, highlighted by this lovely blue strip here. Isn't this nice? I'm serious, this is a game-changing feature. In the OG Catherine, I constantly forgot I could slide across the edges to make things easier. So like, me and the blue strip, we're in love.
Tyler, who are you talking to?
Nothing, Bubby. Don't worry about it. Fine. Now, there aren't any upgrades or stats to worry about. Vincent starts and ends with the same maneuvers, but these climbs become more complicated with special precarious blocks thrown into the mix, like ones designed to blend to your bones, freeze your toes, or just straight up explode. Also featuring the occasional jump pad. There are a few more, like the surprise boxes and the ones with great dental, but you constantly have to evaluate beyond your immediate area if you want to be efficient and avoid killing yourself, not to mention the other adversaries who want you dead too, cause you're in the way. Of course, there isn't any real combat involved, but strategic movement with a really fat pillow bonk on the head is how you're gonna survive your way to the top. There's a big range of difficulty and variety in these climbs too. Some are super long with simpler blocks, others are medium length with a lot more trap blocks, and a few are shorter requiring more creative solutions. Like this level I get stuck on every time I replay this game. Am I dumb? There's just a good mixture of everything, so you constantly have to rethink your approach. You won't get very far if you randomly start shuffling blocks around willy-nilly and treating everything the same, especially with the bosses. So these freaky weirdos happen at the end of each night, and they turn up the pressure because they throw even more obstacles your way while climbing up to grab those cheeks. Timing is very crucial with your movements, and it can make the difference between you flying up or getting flattened down. So these climbs can be very intense, especially if you're slow and can't see huge flashing red indicators. Now, minus their little surprise attacks and the impending doom that they're coming for you, the bosses offer a more aesthetically unique experience than a mechanical one, since the goal of reaching the top doesn't really change. You're not like trying to kill the boss on the way up, but achieving your great escape and killing the boss at the end with the door to light feels super good in an almost cleansing way.
I know now, without a doubt, Kingdom Hearts is light!
The satisfaction from completing the climbs is also complemented by the scoring system, which has coins, trophies, and everything. So there is a flashy incentive to climb smart and fast. And shiny! I did this. It's also cool to see a huge stack of blocks left over if you reach the top quickly. Makes me feel like a big brainer, you know? The visual aid is really nice. And full body inflates my ego even more by displaying where other players died on the climb via little spirit fires. The main story is a single player experience, but you'll never truly feel alone. Instead, I feel like an absolute Chad when I casually pass a whole funeral line of these little guys. Oh, is that the player death data for the night? Guess I won't be adding to that number. The climbs are also paced out well because in between each level are resting platforms where you can save your game, chat with other characters to learn story bits and techniques, or buy items to prepare for what's ahead. By the way, the item system isn't anything special. Some items are a lot better than others, obviously, but you can only hold one at a time, so it's just best to use what you can when you find yourself in a squeeze. Anyway, the resting areas are very similar to the bar sections in a sense that you can either engage with what's there, or you can gun straight for the confessional booth to keep the momentum going. And time to go down a tier on everyone's gaming critic list. I really have no major complaints about the gameplay or the levels. Honestly, it is only good things. There is a ton of variety, and climbing never gets old. Nothing feels unwinnable because there are difficulty settings, along with a pretty forgiving checkpoint and undo system, even on a standard playthrough. So you're never punished for simple mistakes, unless you run out of undos. In that case, you earned it. But the mechanics are efficiently tutorialized, and any new obstacle later on is pointed out by the narrator before engaging with it.
Stepping on an ice block will make you slide until you reach the edge.
And any abstract mechanic or technique can be explained by other lambs. Not to mention, the narrator will even suggest ways to help if it seems like you're struggling mid-level, although that can feel a bit patronizing sometimes.
Are you having some trouble?
Oh my god, I'm thinking!
So there's barely any frustrating aspect to this game besides your own competence as a player. But if I had to nitpick, maybe the only issue is the lack of camera controls. Full body flips the camera around for you when you're on the other side now, but having more flexibility there would have been nice so you can see behind the blocks better to gauge your options before you get back there. But that's all I can really think of. At its core, it's an iconic methodical puzzle system, and it scratches a very specific part of my brain that gives me massive bursts of dopamine again and again. And my antidepressants are getting expensive lately, and this is way cheaper. Catherine was intentionally a small-scale experiment from the get-go, so the climbing puzzle gameplay is simple in concept and execution from a design perspective, but in practice, there are endless ways to play this, strategy and all. The extra marathon levels, known as Babel, accentuate this fact perfectly. It even features a leaderboard to show how far someone can go in one session. And notice how I am not on this, but climbing stays fun because you constantly rely on your own solutions. Great puzzle games have RNG elements that allow for an endless amount of combinations for you to consider. Similar to Tetris, the perfect game, Catherine relies on the player's ability to make constant little decisions with noticeable cause and effect where very little is based on luck. Really, any person is capable of clicking with this gameplay if you know the basics. And I mean anybody. The climbs are fast enough and forgiving enough to not get frustrating, and the score exploring an agency of falling makes it tense and rewarding. The game banked all of its fun on this puzzle system. It is the core mechanic for the entire experience, and I think it paid off wonderfully. So much so that the Coliseum mode was the prime breeding ground for the Catherine competitive scene. Yes, this is very real, incredibly cool, and apparently it was a complete accident on Atlas's part. It wasn't their intention to make any type of competitive experience at all. The community just kind of stumbled into it. But the Coliseum allows for 2 players to climb the same blocks, and due to the intuitive mechanics, the players can duke it out and try to kill each other while they race to the top. The original Catherine paved the way for this, obviously, but Full Body breathed a new life and meta into the competitive scene with some of the additional features and changes. So it's really amazing to see how this bizarre, flirty horror game turns some people into pro gamers extreme, even if the online is still a bit funky. Action Esports did an awesome video breaking all of this down, so check it out if you want to know more. It's neat. But the real success of Catherine, in my opinion, is that it doesn't overstay its welcome, with a normal story playthrough being around 10 to 15 hours, assuming you don't skip cutscenes. The shorter length also makes it incredibly replayable, which is ideal for a game with multiple endings and endless climbing strategies. It's a title I constantly find myself going back to because the story serves the gameplay and the gameplay serves the story. But the thing that's serving the absolute most is the presentation.
I am so fab.
Work it, honey! So, as we know, Catherine originally acted as a graphical test for Persona 5, since a next-generation Persona game needed to impress with a new style. And considering how P5 ended up looking, clearly the Catherine practice round insight ended up paying off, despite the development being considered difficult at the time. It was quite an adjustment period, you know? Now, Atlas is known to make their color palettes a central part of the presentation. Like, these guys are in bed deep with color theory. They just get it. Comment below on what you think Persona 6 color scheme will be. My guess is either purple or green. Just throwing that out there. I don't know, I could be right. But fittingly, in Catherine's case, it's completely packed with pink, white, and a dash of red. It's giving Valentine's Day cards shoved in a wine glass, trapped in the red room from Twin Peaks, tattooed on Post Malone's forehead. It's a great aesthetic and art style. Why does horror and romance go so well together? Who knows, but it sure does look nice in game form, that's for sure. This is, of course, mixed with the stylized shell-shaded models and detailed environments, so you get a real captivating look that can sell more than one game. Now, the majority of the game unfolds in these in-engine cutscenes, but animated scenes often pop up for more important story moments, and you can definitely tell what scenes are exclusively from Full Body since they feature more bold, round shapes with softer lighting, and also if Rin is in the scene at all. They clearly tried to match the original style as much as they could, but 8 years is a pretty big gap to match. However, the new animations still look good on their own. The difference is just noticeable, so it's not really a deal breaker, unless this is like really pissing off somebody. I don't know, tell me all about it, that one person in the comments section. Despite that though, Catherine is a game that thrives in its details. For instance, things that add to the atmosphere include a general haziness in the bar, probably meant to imitate the look of smoke, or at least that greasy man odor, along with just the bar decor loaded with wear and tear, and hey, look who it is!
God, not all at once, guys. What are you doing? That sounds horrible. Turn it off.
The Stray Sheep is cool enough on its own, like I would definitely have a drink here if I could, but the Nightmare World really knocks it out of the park with its own ethereal haziness with distorted church architecture. The climbs are basically suspended in this endless chasm, and you're going to be looking at blocks most of the time, but they have their own glitz and glamour details, so you won't get bored or confused on what kind of blocks you're dealing with. There's also the really small touch of Doomazid's eyes lighting up when you pass the stationary blocks. Big boy upstairs always be looking, you know? However, the backgrounds is what's got the real brutal looking stuff going on. There are things like industrial prison boxes, massive clock gears, spinning torture blades, and then grand gold cathedrals, all depending on the floor you're on. It's very much serving Catholic Jigsaw at a carnival petting zoo, with a snow cone thrown in there. None of this is actually distracting. It's placed discreetly in the background, but it's just cool and freaky when you do notice it. Like, oh my god, this is horrifying. Oh geez. You also feel very small and vulnerable frantically climbing these massive block towers with the constant reminder you can fall into a hell pit from a baby mistake. And as someone who is afraid of heights, God, I'm shitting my pants right now. Oh my god, get me out of here. What the f? So the general scale and style of the nightmares are very effective, but so are the extra graphic scenes stringing all of these sections together, like the blurred clock countdown giving a sense of distorted time, or the slow neon pink distinct descent into the nightmare door with the rest of the sheep, or the stage display showing an isometric view of the tower, or my personal favorite, the loading screens filled with random quotes about relationships and love. Most of these things were a part of the original, of course. Full Body could only add so much to improve a game that is already glam-packed, but they did try to upgrade the lighting and the bloom and oh god, my eyes! Not sure if it's just my display settings, but Full Body is noticeably brighter, to the point of looking worse sometimes. I don't know, Catherine is a stylized game that set the look for the most stylized aesthetic eye candy we've ever seen in our futile lives, so it didn't really need color fixes and more lighting. Most things look like they got the landlord special paint job, but it only looks good if you really like Kills White. Full Body just needed a higher resolution and more dust particles if you ask me, but some of the changes look better for what it's worth, like the color do be poppin' more, and hazardous blocks are more distinct and noticeable during climbs to help avoid silly mistakes. However, the sound design and vocal performances have stayed pretty consistent from the original, except for the noticeable adjustment in audio quality.
I mean, it's easy to keep things like they are now, but...
I don't know. Sometimes easy's best, right?
I mean, it's easy to keep things like they are now, but...
I don't know. Sometimes easy's best, right?
Smooth like butter. The cast is a lot of people we've heard before, like, yes, we know Troy Baker can act, God knows he won't let us forget it, but the characters were all casted well, and everyone's tone and cadence matches their appearance. I personally don't mind English dubs at all, unless it's like noticeably bad, but Atlas always does a decent job with their localizations if you ask me. Now, what I truly love about Catherine's sound design is that it's very specific and noticeable. Like the general use of a narrator to elevate mundane moments, or the clicks of Vincent's cell phone with the added touch of the character's soundbite when you click their messages, or the dun of making a decision that moves the needle, or the rattling sound of coins after a climb, and yes, even all those edges. I could really make a whole list of all the sound effects I like, but the sound detail that really sticks out to me is the boss battle introduction lines.
Child with chainsaw has appeared. It's the killer. Do not die.
Gosh darn it, do I love that for some reason. I really have no clue, honestly, other than that it's memorable, because the voice is so calm compared to what's on screen, and how could I forget to praise the music? This is an Atlas game, so of course the music is gonna slap. It's like the law. But Catherine nails its tone with the use of original mood-setting jingles like...
Hey Daddy, it's me again.
Combined with remixed classical music scores that add an almost dramatic elegance to the nightmare climbs. Also jazz, just good old-fashioned bar jazz. Yeah. God, it's so smooth, I'm sliding all over the place, fellas. Whee! Now, Full Body added a ton of jukebox songs from more recent Atlas titles, got some real bangers in there, along with several new tracks throughout the entire game to differentiate itself. Rin's piano playing is very simple and sweet, and basically inescapable considering how it's used, so you better like it. Atlas didn't go above and beyond to reinvent the musical wheel here, but it is a super effective use of familiar tunes. So, what else can I say? Comprehensive presentation can't single-handedly make a game great, but good style and sound elevates even the poopiest of poops. But Catherine ain't no poop to begin with, so that's why it's great. And you can quote that. Anyway, this video turned out way longer than I originally planned. God knows I could keep talking though, like what's in the DLC bundles, with all of its sexy voices, shirtless boys, Persona 5 stuff, and extra skins, but I don't want to reward Atlas's bad DLC behavior, and I don't own the Switch version. So to wrap it up, at the end of the day, I personally consider Catherine to be a lightning in a bottle type of experience. All the circumstances that limited the project's scope led to some pretty creative outcomes, with a country girls make do attitude. It's unique in presentation, story, and gameplay. But on a general reception level, we know Catherine is good. We've been new for a long time. It's sold well, it's an Atlas mascot, and people know the Catherine brand. That's why they brought it back with just more bodies. Most of this video is just an excuse to talk about how good it is again. Don't forget to slam that upvote, by the way. However, the game seems to live in this weird area of being a beloved puzzle game with iconic characters, while also being disdained for dramatizing every shallow aspect of gender, sexuality, sexuality and romantic relationships. Catherine Full Body is that, but just more of it. It is indeed a very trashy game, but like Jersey Shore meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets The Cube trashy. You know, the same feeling of curling up on the couch with some bad TV and a glass of Pinot Noir and, I'm in heaven. Does this make sense? It's fun, but it's kinda gross, but I love it. But why? But yes. I don't know, comment and subscribe. It's a video game, fellas. Available now. You know, this was going to be a for beginners, but I tried to keep those spoiler-free, and I wanted to talk spoilers so bad, so maybe one day we'll get one, along with everything else on my massive backlog list of videos I want to do someday. Writer's block sucks, guys, but I hope y'all know this is not a hottest release channel. Tried that for a few months back in the day, and it was awful. Could not keep up. Don't recommend it. I just like talking about totally complete games now, so my videos don't immediately become outdated when an update or DLC hits, and oh, the fun of modern gaming. Anyway, I'm not dead, y'all. I'm just in a slow burn phase right now. Life be like that. I'm still young, and I got a lot of content ideas in me, so hit that subscribe button, because that's basically a digital smoke signal for when I actually do upload something. But none of this content would be possible without my amazing patrons. I can't thank y'all enough for your support. Makes all of the difference in the world. Seriously, you guys are the lifeblood of this channel. Thank you. And this episode's patron shout-out goes to Hugh Quinn, Terracotta, and Mr. Right. Thank y'all so much for your support, and don't forget to keep it saucy. If you want to catch all of my content, consider checking out my side channel, SuperButterBuns, for playthroughs and reactions. It's a quick way to get your butter fix in the meantime, you know? And that's all I got for y'all, but I hope to be back with more videos sooner rather than later, okay? Alright? Just sit tight, I'll be back. But for now, toodles!